Yeah, that was a tough one. They got the back-to-back switch hitters, and he did well against them last night. So, kind of took that into consideration. The one thing you want with a lead is strikes. Both guys are going to give you that, and it's a tough one. I usually Frank or somebody just tells the pitcher we're making a change, but I went over and hugged Combs and made sure I put my arms around him so that he couldn't punch me or anything like that. But that guy's as easy going as it gets unless he's on the mound, which is great. And we kind of flipped the roles last night, and I'm not so sure Nate couldn't have rolled for a little while. I mean, he wanted to have a conversation out there. He wanted to stay in the game, which is what you want out of all of your guys. But we just kind of pieced it together. And pitching won today, in my opinion. Yesterday was the defense, and Thursday game one was the bats. So if anything, our guys should take a deep breath and realize, they won games in a bunch of different ways, and you need reps at these one-run games. We haven't had a lot of them, so to pile up two right there is stressful. But now that it's over with, it's definitely a good experience.
Yeah, similar question. Why Combs proceeded in that situation instead of let Steve kind of roll?
Just to get out of a jam, I think he's done it. He's done it in a super regional with an Omaha trip on the line. 1-1 against Southern Miss. He's done it about as many different ways as you can imagine, and I think he's really throwing the ball right now. He's as confident as it gets on the mound. He's got to do an interview with John right now. He didn't look too confident about that. So kind of go with your gut thing. And I think the only time we didn't go with our gut are the conversations that preceded. Josh always has good feedback, and obviously Frank does when he's present. But the only time we didn't go with our gut, major regret. So kind of involved it yesterday with talking about our position players and moving guys around or who's DHing today. Got confidence in a mass number of guys. So we've got to go with what we think is the best in the situation, and then they just need to trust us. And you can make the wrong decision and it can go right. And you can make the right decision. And, Danny Corona hit every single ball hard this weekend and then kind of hit a little nubber off Kirby. And next thing you know, you're in a hot mess there in that situation.
5 runs across 3 games. What does that say about the pitching staff?
That they're well coached, first of all. But again, to steal from my answer yesterday, I think the depth is expanding. And you got Marcus Phillips and Andrew Banke who are fresh, and yet they've thrown a bunch lately down there in the bullpen, and we trusted them. If something were to go hairy with Kirby, or that game kind of had the feel of like potential extra innings, you could trust those two guys against righties or lefties, and if the game's on the line too. So a couple other guys have put themselves in a position where maybe they're now on the active roster and weren't, or got a pitch development and can do things like that. So I think more than anything, it just, for whatever reason, it wasn't a weekend where a lot of runs were going to be scored. Fortunately, our guys, had a little bit of explosiveness to them on Thursday, but our guys did what they needed to do to win, and a lot of it had to do with the pitchers doing their deal.
What happened with the offense being a little bit off balance on some of those swings, guessing wrong? Was that just execution from Mizzou, or was that just something funk on over on this side?
Yeah, no, I think I mentioned there at the end of the game to Coach Jameson. I was in my office, and they didn't have their best night pitching on Thursday, and I saw him kind of rally the troops, and he had a good discussion with the pitchers, and it's obvious they're well coached and the numbers are good. I mean, he's basically a version of Frank Anderson. Those guys have a ton of mutual respect for each other, and whatever he said to them worked. I mean, they came out and executed very well. Lunsford, I haven't seen every outing, but arguably his best outing in the SEC. Today they have an illness and things get thrown off, and yet the guys handled things the way that they did. Bases loaded situation. I know the fans are like, man, bases loaded, 1 out. We got our two of our best guys up that don't score. Well, part of it was the execution. So I think our guys had a little frustration, a little try too hard. Not an offensive environment the last 2 days, but a lot of execution out of them. And like I said, part of it is coaching. I mean, Carrick's got, those guys playing their butts off. But if I could go on a further tangent and represent the old version of me, Coach Jameson knows what he's doing. He should be the all-time wins leader at Missouri, but that got cut off a year early at the very least. You got Tanner Houck and some other guys. I'm speaking from a lot of discussions I've had. He, regardless of what the numbers say, you guys know how I feel about streaks and numbers. He's the best coach that's ever coached at that school, and so part of it has to do with that.
You talked about it a little bit, but 3 different wins, 3 different ways. Just how important is that, especially at this time of the season?
Crucial, because what's coming ahead is as things, kind of progress, maybe the stakes get a little higher. You get to Hoover, which we've punched our ticket. Now all of a sudden fans really want to win, and SEC fans are talking trash and all that. And what can happen is it can kind of turn into a little league game where parents are yelling and like crazy, and you can see guys' forearms when they're holding the bat or the ball, and tension can really arise. And the best way to combat that is take a deep breath and trust what got you there. But an even better way is to kind of have a recipe that you've already, formulated. And I can't cook worth a crap. My dad can, but you probably figure out there's a little too much cinnamon. You take some out, or a little too much butter, or whatever it might be, and you make adjustments. So I think, the fact that we've now played in a bunch of different games, I think our guys can kind of do that as we put together our best recipe. Because it's nice that we've won some games, but I don't think we're there yet. I think the players would say the same thing.
Modern college baseball feels like a lot of guys in Cal's shoes would have transferred this offseason. What to say about him that he didn't, and just how much better he's gotten.
He thought about it. Just being overly honest, and some guys don't have communication. And the best part of every relationship is when you communicate. So when he reaches out and expresses things and asks questions and do things like that, then it gets put into perspective. And I think he's got strong ties here and strong relationships. But deep down, what he also has is confidence. I know he's not at our school, but one of my favorite individuals I've ever met is Archie Manning. And I know he's not his dad, but I know he's in that guy's life. And there ain't no way that guy was going to leave that school this year. So that was another topic of conversation was, I bet that guy's going to leave. No, he's not. Not if you know who he is and what he's about. And ultimately, Cal sees him as a guy that if he does what he does, he's going to play. And I hope people are recognizing what he can do. And if he does what he does, he's going to get a pro opportunity, regardless of what uniform he's wearing. So he might as well wear the uniform he loves.
In terms of that, I'm obviously you can't speak for Cal, but does part of his decision probably have to be that he trusts that if he goes out there and competes and outproduces other guys, that he will get opportunities?
Yeah, that there's an opportunity. And hey, somebody could knock on the office door tomorrow. I'm all for it. Well, Sunday, let's enjoy. Monday, they could come in and have a meeting and say, okay, can you explain to me, like, what do I got to do to get in there? Or how come this guy instead of that? And I'm all for doing it. And when you have a quality team or a team you're confident in, that means there's some guys that could, again, this guy could have got it done too, but Kirby was there. And if that guy wasn't used, then this guy also might have been able to get it done, or this matchup. And we're fortunate enough to have that. But there's enough food to go around on the table. And at the end of the day, everybody is happy. Some guys were frustrated, but everybody's happy in that outfield meeting that you have after a game if you win. And if you keep winning, more guys get drafted. You get more per diem. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not. The food gets better. The hotels get better. You get posted on Twitter more. You experience more things. The bonds get, stronger. I mean, like JP's 05 team, when you go to Omaha and stuff like that. So it takes a minute to realize, and it's a new era of kid, but I think we've got a really unselfish group, and they realize maybe I'm not the guy that's on the movie poster, but maybe I'm the guy that's playing this role or whatever, and making it still go.
Some goals maybe are easier to accomplish depending on like the team, but you mentioned clinching a spot to get to the SEC tournament. To reach another goal for this team, how does that feel? How rewarding is that at this point?
It's great, I mean, you want to get to a point where you can survive in this league, and you do kind of look at the wins a little bit. And I think if you get to a point where you're going to be in Hoover, or you have a certain margin of error in the conference, it helps you. And then again, at this point, friends or in our division, not in our division, it really doesn't matter. I think I can speak for every coach in this league. Just hunt down the next win. You need the next SEC win, and it'll help you even more than you realize.
How do you feel getting the second
Good. Kind of stressed. It's nice when our guys do what they can do at times with the bat, but that's just not reality, especially as you get towards the end of the season. You see the type of arms we're seeing in our league. There'll be moments, where, our offense is explosive, but more times than not, it's going to be, can you take that deep breath, and can you get rid of tension and press on and do what you got to do to win? And, a sweep is nice. It's very difficult to get, but when we do play these series, our guys know the task at hand. You're trying to get to 2 wins before the other team, and then we're able to do that. So when you come to the ballpark today, it's kind of about just attacking today and going 1-0.
Coach, Carlos Lopez here with Vamos Vols.
Glad to have you.
Appreciate it, Coach. You got a lot of questions here about baseball, but I want to ask you something personal, man. I started something here with the Hispanic background students. You got a couple of guys here, Ariel Antigua and Christian Moore, with a Venezuelan background. What are you doing as a head coach and as a staff to foster that sense of belonging everybody on your team?
Yeah, well, those two guys are knuckleheads. I miss Jarrell Ortega is who I miss. But those guys are special individuals too. And it's just really fun when you got a bunch of guys from a different background. Hey, the high school baseball in the state is way better than we anticipated. And then it's growing. Part of it is the population. There's a lot of people that want to move to Knoxville, Chattanooga, and obviously Nashville too. So the baseball is getting better. But for us to accomplish our goals, we're going to have to spread our wings and go coast to coast and go up to the Northeast and obviously Florida, Jarrell, and other guys like that. So when we bring them all together, it's fun to see different backgrounds and different individuals. We go way out of our way. I don't mind kind of bragging. The one thing we really do is try and get our guys to be comfortable in their own skin and be who they are. And part of that is laughing at yourself and maybe taking it even at the head coach, hey, your shoes stink, or your taste in music is bad or whatever. And at the end of the day, we're all dudes. And so if we're going to say we're teammates, that means, 3-2 or 13-2. It means in the locker room, I run into a guy at Dos Bros or whatever. We need to be able to have conversations with one another. I'll take my next meal free for that mention. But I think that's crucial. So, at the heart of everything, you could get a banner or a ring or anything or any pat on the back for accomplishment. Teammate deal is very, very important to us. And I think it's been fostered by a lot of people like our strength coach and all of our support staff that work with our guys. And hopefully those guys would share those sentiments.
Can we get a Vamos Vols for the brand?
Vamos Vols.